Hey guys, Soraka, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney 2. Let's carry on where we left off. Ryotaro is making some great strides in the trial so far. Not bad for a first-timer. Must be because she's, or he, rather, is part of the Naruhodo clan, and we all know how well-versed they are in a court of law. Their ability to call out objection or point out contradictions and cross-examinations. Fortunately, I got very lucky. In the previous episode, turns out I presented evidence without actually realizing the gravity of it, and managed to at least avoid losing more lives than I already had, which was just the one, in fact. But, yeah, we all talked about how Ryunosuke would flip over evidence and examine every little bit of detail, and turns out I didn't even do that for Poison Article. An article about poison that was stolen from a laboratory at Yume University. Even my father, who was responsible for the lab, knew nothing of the incident. So I guess we should probably catch up on what's actually written down here and apply it to what we know about the case so far. And, well, we do know quite a bit now, especially that Giselle Britt may have been poisoned to death. It may have laced the knife. Who knows? In the meantime, exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Soseki Natsume on 11th August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Deadly, in tiny quantities. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Well, turns out, Ray was on site, if you will. Why is the poison being developed? Because science can. You know science, creating weapons of mass destruction and whatnot. In any case, onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military, because of course, well, luckily for the military, we've completed a successful test run and killed an enemy of the state before she got shanghaied, so there you go. You yokel student and yokel professor! Uh-oh, we're starting things off strong, with Ouchie already being melodramatic. I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No! Excuse you? That's not objection. Eugen Mikatoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. Let me think about it. It pains me to have to admit it. But I'm afraid I don't know. Oh my god. You don't know? You don't know? This is your university, professor! The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Well, that was a gentle headshake if I've ever seen one. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Listen to the bumbling academic. Thinks he's so smart because he lectures at a university. Pah! Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper. Jeez, where have I heard that one before? Turns out people actually found out things from the media even back then, before they got told officially. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. A pitiful situation for a university professor. I call for your resignation immediately, because that's what we do in this kind of situation. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. Whoa, disc slam from Ryotaro. That's totally unfounded. Uh-oh. What we got? I forgot about these slow montages. Oh, Ray. Oh, God. Was this the Mount Rushmore of extreme expressions? None of this is Professor Mikatoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray. Mbami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day. What? So you knew? I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Soseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. But that's all they needed. Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was covering your ass, sir. I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was.
The thief?
You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman.
Miss Giselle Brett?
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
But she wasn't.
I know it was you who stole the poison.
Well now, whatever do you mean?
And then... she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me, and then collapsing on the floor.
Uh-oh. Was she stabbed through the hut? Possibly. Let's take a look at the crime scene photograph. Looks like there's... So that's where she sat. Looks like there's a tiny little slit here. You can see on my little magnifying glass. Certainly, she could have been poked from behind there. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Well, now we know that the murderer, I should say, wasn't in the hut at the time of her murder.
Huh. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints.
Damn, you can see that through her mask. I suppose her mask would have enhanced her pupils. I don't believe it. In other words, you realized the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her, which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes. If the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really? I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Well, I mean, I have a pretty good idea who the culprit is already. It's got to be that paparazzi guy, right? The one that was taking notes behind Saseki. I feel like what is it? The indentation on this pin matches what was on his armband. I didn't look back or anything, but I distinctly remember something on his armband, and it would make sense for him to be the culprit in all this, simply because we don't have many people. It can't be any of the witnesses on the stand, because we're familiar with, Hosonaga and Natsume, and there's no way that they're responsible for this murder. I suppose you could say maybe Hosonaga has a chance for being involved, but nah, he's too law-abiding. He's too lawful good. You know what I mean? Everyone's deep in thought. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. But I'm pretty sure we'll overlook about it anyway, later on in the trial. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
It's barely perceptible, but I do think
the balance has shifted a little here, in this courtroom now. Thankfully, we don't have to convince a jury or anything.
Objection!
Oh. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. Don't believe the witch. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed, huh? I'm pretty sure the knife didn't just fly into her back.
Well,
You have no answer, because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge. Obviously, I'm sticking to my theory. That's it, okay?
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you?
Yeah, well, apparently in these games, it's guilty until proven innocent. Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive.
What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Alchi. Oh, do I have to? perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student.
What?
I'd imagine there would be no need for me to submit this evidence, because it's, you know, might actually be doubtful, but you brought this on yourself. Oh, really? You didn't think there'd be any need to produce this evidence? This is literally showing her stabbing Giselle Brett. Surely this would be Exhibit A, right? So clearly he knows there's something dodgy about this photo. Otherwise, why not present this in the first place?
What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable.
Sheesh. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murders in nature. It's just a photograph, okay? It's clearly her taking the knife out. But sure, spin the tale that you want. For it shows the precise moment that Mimbami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back.
No, that's not true. No. I don't believe it. Ah!
Sorry, that was a pretty wimpy scream by me, but, you know, we're trying to keep our cover here. Order, order, order! Counsel for the defense. Was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom? Oh, it was shrill? Sorry, I tried my best to imitate it. Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature.
Dad, I'll show you who's slow to mature.
Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. This is basically a novella. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence. The incriminating photograph has been entered into the court record. A photographic print taken at the moment the victim was attacked. My friend Ray can be seen kneeling over Miss Brett.
I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time.
But yeah, there's something suspicious about it, right? Like I said, he would have presented it first thing first. So what is this? Is this a crease in the photograph or something else entirely? There's Giselle Brett. Her hat's there. Yeah, similar to this, of course. I don't see any contradictions so far, although I have just had a brief look. Can't see the pin or the top of her hat in this photo. Not that I think that's relevant at all. Okay. Carry on.
It's such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Ray.
Objection!
Well, that's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Oh,
Objection!
No, I want to know who else was present at the scene.
that's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
Ah! Damn it, I knew this was a bad idea. I shouldn't have presented it at all. I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once. Oh, God, do I have to? Well, I'm afraid I can't do that, Your Excellency, sir.
Pardon?
You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Oh, great. So this could have been forged for you, though, although I don't know how photographic prints were forged back in the day. Goodness.
Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence! You yokel student and blabbering professor! Look, what matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. Don't worry about the origins, okay? Don't worry about where I got it from, okay? I trust my sources, even if I don't know what my sources are.
But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. That's clearly what she's doing here. Clearly this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but
the moment it was withdrawn. Oh, please, don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. You're the one wasting our time with a phony photograph. Indeed. Without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. Yeah, well, it's called beyond reasonable doubt, friends. Okay. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. And, you know, I've said probably a few times that my wife is a lawyer. If she's... and, you know, she's always watching law shows, and she's like, oh, you know, oh, that's not how it works in a courtroom. And I can just imagine all the holes she'd be poking here. I know it's a game. Don't worry.
Oh no.
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow.
You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. This guy's too much, I swear. And to rue the day you came up against Taketsuchi, Ouchi, and a court of law. Oh my god, my hair's gonna grow back. Look at this tiny little growth. It's gonna look fantastic. Believe me.
If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel, well, who was present at the scene, right? Like, who was there?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is, I have the answer.
Time to bluff, baby. Although I have a pretty good idea who took it.
This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal.
What? No, you can't. If I can't fucking do it, you can't, you yokel student. But as you so boldly claim that you can, please, by all means, do enlighten us.
Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name.
How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you couldn't?
However, I'm able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity.
What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Yeah. Well, I know who it is. I mean, like I said, I have my suspicions, but how do I prove it? Am I just going to reveal the pin here? RM, Raymond Bonney. Let's take a moment. All right, well, for lack of anything better to present, I'm going to use the fountain pen here.
Take that!
Take that!
The piece of evidence in question is this.
I can't tell if I got it right or not. My lives aren't showing. I'm afraid, counsel, that when presenting evidence, you must learn to temper those wide, nervous eyes.
You sure?
Oh, there we go. I'm obliged to penalize you for the lack of focus in both your eyes and your answer. Would you care to squeeze your head in your hands again, counsel? To punish yourself for presenting such utterly irrelevant evidence. Damn it.
Ugh. I'll squeeze my head as many times as it takes to win this trial. Your Excellency, may I squeeze my head?
You may present another piece of evidence, but no more squeezing, counsel. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Okay. Let's take a look at this. I wonder who wrote this article. Who took this photo?
I do hope you weren't...
Oh, I see it! The crease! Okay, gotcha. Done it. Done, dusted, presented.
Take that!
It's this. What is that? The newspaper again. Raucous England returnees tell all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Of course, it's not a crease mark because this is printed paper, but you know what I mean. Ah, yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye, as it happens. Ha! What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably. From the branches of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you, you dumbass.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph,
Oh, good gracious! It's the same!
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph too. I don't think there's a tree growing in that hut, ouchie.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Ha! Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely. From the branches of a tree. You morons! I'm the only one wearing glasses here. Of course I can tell.
There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council.
Oh, now who's reaching? What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. Remarkable! How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired?
The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of the camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs.
With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera.
But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. Really? Hundreds at this time, in this era? It'd be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article.
A newspaper? Ah! Which means it was authored by someone. There's gotta be some credits. That's right.
The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime.
Wah! Wah! Oh, God! What the hell? I don't even know how to say what you just said, sir. I'm presuming it's sir. Oh, God, it was Seki. I see why you were called a raucous England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. God, your 10 seconds of fame is up, Soseki Natsume.
It's Many Memo. I tell you, Many Memo. Many Memo. Soseki-san, what was that? Have you been snorting things again? Did you say Many Memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Write-In Many Memo. RM, what do you know? Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk.
Ooh, okay, dramatic music.
Ah, now that he mentions it. They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. Could that same reporter be?
I'm 100% ahead of you, Susato.
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Write-In Many Memo.
So you're saying that this picture was taken by some guy writing many memos?
By Many Memo, yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire.
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency.
As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. We will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay. Meh. Oh, yeah, alright. Ah, Many Memo. Okay. Well, drag him to the stand if you have to. It's to be continued time. Alright, this is a good chance to collect ourselves and actually focus on whatever evidence we have in the court record. I'm obviously still a bit rusty when it comes to Ace Attorney. I shouldn't be just tossing out answers because I think it's the right one. I should be actively examining the evidence. I should have picked up on the photograph similarities between the newspaper and what was presented in court by Ouchie, like, straight away. So let's concentrate on actually solving things. I don't want to be that guy that just tosses out random answers. It's why I don't try and save scum for a reason. I'm happy to lose lives because I want to at least try and work things out rather than haphazardly guess what the hell's going on. 13th of August, 10:41 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendant's Antechamber 3. I'm sorry, Ray. It's my first day on the job, you know. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I will actually look at the evidence this time.
I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray.
You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone.
No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you'd stand by me to the last.
I remember.
And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato! I deserve it! No, in fact, throw me to the floor!
I don't want to join you in the county jail, alright? There's some guards watching.
No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. No, you know what? Poison me. Stab it in my eye.
I'm no better, you know.
Oh?
Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back. There was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you.
Susato! How dare you? What the hell? You betrayed me. Now you're the one stabbing me in the back.
I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer.
Oh, no. Let's call it even. We both made mistakes, okay?
I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task.
Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? I guess so. Maybe. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now.
Oh, Ray. Please. I'm taking this all off when I get home. Well, she seems to be in good spirits at the very least.
I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison.
Well, now, whatever do you mean?
And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes.
And you were the only people in the hut at the time?
That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that.
Well, I mean, the photograph, right? The angle of which the photo was taken, it was from behind. The only way someone could have done that is if they had line of sight. And if they have line of sight, that means there was a gap where they could stab Miss Brett in the back. A great mystery indeed. If only we had Shomes here in Japan. We need a Herlock Sholmes Japanese version. Although technically this is the Japanese version because this is a Japanese game.
I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up.
You'll be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you saw is true. I don't know why I had trouble with that sentence, sorry. Spoken like a true Mikatoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it.
Well, I mean, are they cooperating with the university? Surely they've got some samples.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Chemical reagent?
I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. The chemical reagent has been entered into the court record, a special indicator solution for a new poison under development by my father's team. It's been created in strict secrecy and exists only in my father's laboratory. Right. Well, I mean, let's take a look at it. Thorough examination, if you will. Start with the label.
The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know.
It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Yeah, the words are completely different.
Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it.
German is the international language of medicine, my dear.
Oh, was back then, huh?
But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. I see. It's just a detection solution of some kind, right? Is that the only thing we can look at? Looks like it. Kind of looks like a stamp, actually. Alright. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Suseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swarmed in, and without any compunction said to Professor Mikatoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there."
It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Suseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Suseki-san knew about the poison?
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. Especially if he's being stalked by this said reporter.
This Minimemo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
He was hiding in the bushes. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Eh?
A non-criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Suseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office.
Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah.
Yep, that about sums it up, my dear daughter. Yes, that must be what happened.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we're on the same page then.
Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. Okay, bailiff. It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day.
That we do, or she's gonna get executed. Jeez. 13th of August, 11:30 a.m., Supreme Court of Judicature. Courtroom 1. We're back. No one on the witness stand as of yet. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Raymond Barmy. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you summoned the new witness?
No, Your Excellency, as you can clearly see. Before I address that question, Your Excellency, do I have to, really? I have some very important news to share. I got a new puppy named Buttons. You can meet her after the trial this afternoon. Guys, more than welcome to come, except for that yokel defense lawyer and that blabbering professor.
I don't know, it was just the way his animation presented there. Felt like he had some mundane news that he wanted to share with everyone.
Actually, you know what? Getting a new puppy is not mundane. I take that back.
Oh?
What news? And why does he look so happy about it?
During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikatoba's laboratory at Yume University, I got a degree. The police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, you're too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. You're biased, sir. Really, you have it in for me. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And, counsel? What were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, oh, Lord have mercy on his soul. God rest it, too. Oh, God, real tragedy. Has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade.
What? Are you sure about that?
Well, I've got the reagent. I can test it right now. I would stake the reputation of the police on it. I'm certainly not staking mine. Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. The murder weapon has been entered into the court record. A small knife from the scene of the crime that was found on the victim's back. No trace of poison was found on the blade. That's because it was in the pen, I believe. The pen with no ink in it left. I just need to figure out how it entered her system if it wasn't laced on the knife. Did she have another wound somewhere? In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. I've got another avenue, thank you very much, of how it got into her system and where the poison may have been stored. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness at long last. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Maybe you can get my good side this afternoon. Very well, officer, bring in the witness.
No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body?
Maybe I need to reread the autopsy report. There he is, and there it's prominent on his armband, god damn it. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Write in many memo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like to call a journo.
What's a journo, Father? Do you know?
It's simply a contraction of journalist, you know, because so many of them are so good at their jobs these days. Especially games ones. I'm there when the news breaks, putting pen to paper and catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Okay, now I know you're a bad guy because you refer to yourself as a nice guy.
Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it?
Well, what do we have here?
I'm sorry?
Oh, brace yourselves, people. Many memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. And the readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format for the morning edition.
Huh? Oh god, please stop taking photos of me.
Right then, let's start with your name.
Oh, it's Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Next, what made you want to become a lawyer?
Well, I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
You know, I didn't have time to roleplay and come up with a character sheet, Father. Okay, you kind of sprung this on me. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while, that's all. I'll give it back. I'll put it back with his grave.
By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. Well, it certainly gets our heart beating, but that's because of that foul screech you give. What's the matter? Writing with a pencil because your pen's missing? You clearly use one if there's an ink smear all over your hand. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes? What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. Well, It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me. Sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. They call me Mr. Fast Hands. That's what I call my mini memoism. And trademark that, by the way. Mini memoism. Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Soseki-san. Yes, right, that was me, Mini Memo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is I didn't. Oopsie. Oopsie doodles. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's words. Criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen. Fuck yeah, I'll eat that all up every day of the week. So all our readers, it's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. Police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Your Excellency, I told you I didn't want to bring him to court. Okay, now look, he's shitting all over your courtroom. All right, he's desecrating it. Humph. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. Oh, it's all here. All right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket? Oh, people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after him. To get the woman's story so I can hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? Yeah, I was making her for an interview, but she was kind of slack-jawed and dead, really. Wasn't of much help, actually. The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh, yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. Oh, God. The way he plays with his suspenders reminds me of that freaking clown from Spirit of Justice. I don't even know the clown's name. Is it a clown or is it a jester? I can't even remember. To be honest, I've wiped most of Spirit of Justice from my brain. But now that they've announced the Apollo Justice quote-unquote trilogy for PC, maybe I'll pick it up again, for sure. Especially now that we're working on TGAA 2. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Minimomo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Okay, here we go. This is our first test of actually trying to figure out what the contradiction is and what evidence goes against it. The cameraman never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screen, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smouldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Wow, okay. I could make a ton of lewd references from what you've just been riffing off on. Reed screens, you say? Right, you can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. There we go. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to pick my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. You were going to make a sex photograph tape of what, I guess, Giselle Brett was going to do? Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh, yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Seriously, man. The innuendos you could make. Would I get away with it? Or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime.
A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk a day, run a scoop the next. That's many memoism in a nutshell. Alright, stop taking pictures, God. At last. It would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No, you're not. Nowhere near. No! Ah, wonderful news, Your Excellency. Everyone's going to be able to meet my dog faster than I thought. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why, then, was the story never published?
Oh, that's right.
Ah, yeah, procrastination, I got lazy. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. Ha! More pathetic excuses. Very well then, Counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest.
Good timing with the snapping back of your suspenders. The camera never lies. Where are we going to head him up this time?